Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi there. Welcome to this. This is the 51st episode of A Couple Takes on MS. Hi, this is Dan Digman.
And hi, this is me, Jennifer Digman.
And welcome to this show. If you haven't heard of us before, a really quick run through. I have relapsing remitting MS. I've had it for about 20 years, and I'm married to Jennifer.
And I also have multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed in November 21 years ago. Well, this November will be 21 years. And Dan and I are fortunate that we have each other. But we also have friends living with multiple sclerosis, both in the cyber community and in our own community here in Michigan. And our radio show shows two very different takes on the same disease. I'm no longer walking. I've been using a wheelchair for 16 years, and my dear husband.
I still walk, and I think that's where we just sort of just look at things from a couple different things. So you see what we did there as far as a couple takes on MS. And what we're talking about here today is journaling. And a lot of times, when they talk about coping mechanisms, journaling is a really big thing. And I think that's where we do with our blog at danandjenniferdigman.com is a lot of journaling of sorts. And what are the benefits of journaling, Jennifer?
Well, Dan, journaling can help you understand your thoughts and feelings more clearly. And if you struggle with stress or depression or anxiety, while all three are big things that come with MS, keeping a journal can help you gain control of your emotions and improve your mental health. And I journal, and I think it's a great opportunity to be alone for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, depending on how much is going on in my life, just to get my own thoughts out and get them written down.
You do journal. I mean,
Yeah.
Just because you've got that here on the counter, and I think that's what benefits do you have? I mean, and that's what we're really hoping for in talking about this is to just help you, the listeners, just to see the benefits of what you can do when you journal, especially in dealing with something like multiple sclerosis.
I find that journaling gives me an opportunity to say some of the scary, sad, angry things that I may not want to say to a person. And it helps me to get my thoughts out more clearly. It's not just bad things that I journal about or angry things, but it helps me to remember the good things, because even though I'm living with a chronic illness like multiple sclerosis, good things happen in my life, and it's a really good opportunity to remember them. I don't know how many of you out there are worried about your MS or whatever illness you're dealing with affecting your cognition, but I want to remember everything as well as I can, and journaling gives me another, it's like a book. It's my own book of my memories, so that if and when I have trouble remembering, or if Dan and I are like, shoot, when did we take this trip, I can page back into a journal and see, and that helps me remember.
Well, and I guess let me ask this question then too. Obviously, when you journal, years from now, you'll be able to look back and say, oh yeah, that's when that happened, that's when that happened. Do you, in some senses, think that the journaling now will help sharpen your mind. So
I think so. I really do. I remember when I turned somewhere in my 20s, I received a dream journal, which is kind of an example of journaling where you could write down your dreams so that you could remember them, because I don't know how often you dream and you don't remember it, but if you write it down, it helps you remember what you dream. And I really believe that that activity, putting pen to paper just to capture those memories, dreams or activities that happen in your life, it really makes your reality more clear. And it makes you pay more attention, makes you be more present in the moment, because you want to remember it, and so that you can write it down and relive it, in the act of journaling. But then in 5 years, if I go back, heck, sometimes when something really crazy is happening in life, I'll go back 6 months later and, oh my God, yeah, it really did happen. I journaled about it. And if I'm really angry and I get a chance to write it down, maybe the anger will go away a little bit, but maybe in 2 weeks when I read it, I'll be like, good heavens, what was I so angry about? Have you ever journaled?
not as often as I should. I mean, I think then it's defining what journaling means, because I mean there definitely is a difference, or is there a difference between journaling and keeping a diary?
Well, I think it's kind of a grown-up diary, but I think like
Kind of like grown-up coloring books and
yeah,
sort of
and yeah, maturity. You just change the name a little bit, but I think about you being a writer and the things you write. Some of your most personal blogs, I think those are kind of a journal.
Well, and that's what I think, because obviously, as I had said earlier, like with our blog, that on some levels, that's a journal of sorts that basically we're sharing with the world.
And I think maybe the only difference for me is that my journal is a little more private. Certainly, I say a lot of private, not private, but personal things in our blog. But when I don't want to share that much, but I need to get the emotions out, that's when I journal, and it does feel good just to get it out.
Is easier? I mean, it's almost like you're releasing those thoughts. It's like not keeping them cooped up, and it's like you're letting the pen and paper air out your thoughts, and not airing it out to like your husband where you might hurt his feelings or something.
Yeah, or if we go to a concert and I get a concert ticket stub, or when we go vote and I get the I voted sticker, I put that in my journal and then write just a little bit like, oh, pretty empowering, I was able to vote today. Or, oh, we saw a really good concert when we saw Judas Priest at, earlier this summer. It's just, it gives me the opportunity. And I encourage anyone, and, it doesn't have to take a long time. Don't start out thinking you're going to write War and Peace, you're going to capture all your emotions. Just 10 minutes. I think that's a really manageable. 10 minutes may sound long, so do it for 5, but just try and get some of those things out. And then, I heard today, as a matter of fact, watching television, which I do quite often, but I was watching the talk, and they were just saying that happiness, one of the things that can increase happiness is to just once a day, write down 3 things you're grateful for.
And that in and of itself could be a
journal
journaling
entry. Yeah, and it's, just that gratitude. And when you're living with a chronic illness, especially in our case, living with MS, it's really good to have those things that you're grateful for, or remember the good things that happened to you that day. And I think it helps make the disease more bearable, and realize that, yeah, the disease stinks, but you have a lot of good things that go along with it.
And that's the difference too, is that journaling doesn't have to all be happy, doesn't all have to be sad, doesn't have to be mad, angry, whatever. It's just getting those thoughts down,
and they're your thoughts, whatever they may be.
And you don't have to worry about punctuation and correct spelling and just spewing thoughts out. Whereas, it's a difference between me writing an essay for a blog that, and I'm trying to perfect everything. That's just what I do as a writer. And so,
Yeah.
wow.
And I think that some really good writing can come about straight from journaling. Just when you get those thoughts out, you can develop them more fully. And heck, I don't know why I'm telling you that, because you're the one that really showed me that since we've been married and started our blog all those years ago.
And it's something you don't have to do every day. I mean, how often on a good month, how many times do you blog? Or every week, what's a good week?
Well, if I would love it if you and I would blog once a week, and I would love it if I wrote my journal like 3 times a week. But there are those weeks when you're just like super busy and you really don't have time to be alone with your thoughts and you don't journal. Or if you have a really crappy week and you find yourself doing like writing it down and scrabbling, or what's the word? Not scrabbling. Scribbling. Thank you.
Scribbling, yeah, you do that.
But I do that, but that's my fun. But just scribbling down all the things that make you crazy. But like I said, I encourage you, and I think of your writing and just everything, how much that's helped us both.
And I think that's what really clued us into, or really inspired us to talk about the journaling this week, because one of the things, in addition to our blog, we write for the website multiplesclerosis.net, is one of the as other blogs or websites we write for. And we this week have had a ton of comments come in on 2 of our essays. Jennifer had just had one post last week, or a couple weeks ago, I guess, and comments are coming in. And I was getting comments now for an article I had written like earlier this year, but they had put it in another web magazine of sorts, and so it was like new to other people. And so we were just like thinking, those were really, for both of us, I think those were very personal stories, very personal essays. And with that, we wanted to take a moment, because never have we actually read any of our essays online before, like the spoken word, just to have it come out. And so we wanted to share each of those essays, just as far as the personal. And these really were, this was a quick one for me to write, because it was just getting my thoughts out there, putting it on paper and on the computer. And so I want to read this for you all, and then Jennifer will read one of hers, just in terms of personal essays. And I know that after I wrote this, I felt very rewarding and very at peace, just because it was something that had been on my mind for a while. So, winning. My battle with MS. I'll let Jennifer tell you about her MS diagnosis, but here's a little bit about what happened to me in December 1999, and it still is happening. I didn't actually cry when I first learned that the cause of the issues I was having was, quote, most likely multiple sclerosis. Nope, didn't cry. I was fearless as I talked on the phone with my primary care physician, who called me at work on Friday, December 17th, 1999, to share the radiologist's report with me. Multiple sclerosis, huh? I asked. Yeah, I sort of had a sense that was a possibility. What's that? No, I'll be fine. Okay. I'll call the neurologist you're recommending for an appointment to review the report and confirm a diagnosis. Yes, I have this number written down. Thanks again for doing all this testing to see why my hands, feet, and chest are so numb. Merry Christmas to you too. Goodbye. I thought to myself, so brave, Dan. So brave. I hung up the phone, got up from my chair, and closed my office door. Then I sobbed. Multiple sclerosis. This isn't like a common cold. MS is a forever sort of deal. It isn't ever going away. That is, until they find a cure. And it's a progressive disease. Progressive. It's perpetually attacking my body, intermittently, continually, uncontrollably, always ready to pounce with or without warning. And now I have it, and I did nothing to get it. MS chose me. I'm not sure how long I bawled or what halted my hysterics that day. Somehow I continued to work until 5 p.m. and finally drove home, ate a grilled cheese sandwich, cried a little more, and went to sleep. I woke up the following morning infused with an intricate sense of calm, peace, urgency, and optimism. Nothing about me was different. Absolutely nothing. I may have MS, but I truly was the same person I was the previous day when I got the call that temporarily shattered my world. And it was on that day, the day after, on December 18th, 1999, that I determined how I was going to handle this unwanted invader. I started trash talking MS. MS, you chose me, but from this day forward, I own you. And so began the competition. It's me versus the disease. I'd like to think the odds are in my favor, and here's why. I'm the captain of my team, and the great thing is I'm not facing this fight alone. I have a strong team of people behind me, everyone from my family to friends, caregivers, medical professionals, and more. These are the people who give me strength and encouragement. And I can choose who is and who isn't on my team. I call the shots and can add people who will help me to win, and I'm free to cut those who are holding me back from staying in the game. Like football has quarters and baseball has innings, I have days with MS. Depending on the day or symptom, I've developed different strategies for taking an offensive or defensive stand against MS. Some days, everything goes as planned, while other days, I need to shoot from the hip, no disease-modifying therapy pun intended, and make up a new play to counterattack what the disease fires at me. Sure, the disease has the power to take away some of my abilities, friends, independence, and sense of security, but I refuse to give in to it and let it take away my spirit, enthusiasm, determination, and sense of hope. I've been encouraged in this fight for nearly 6,500 days, and I know in my heart that I am winning.
Wow.
That was, I mean, again, that was just something that that was very much a journal article, because, I mean, when you talk about writing and crafting, you know how I write.
Yes.
I can over-obsess over things, but I mean, I'm not being cheap, but I mean, I banged that out in 20 minutes and edited just a little bit, because that was in my heart of hearts. That's how I was feeling, and that is my sample of journaling and just getting it out on my and I think that's just something, again, that had been in my head, for months, for years, and it's just and that's what it was. And so that was my essay that appeared on multiplesclerosis.net. And I think now, Jennifer, you have one that you can read that
I can absolutely read. And this is my essay that I wrote and is appearing on MS.net. MS leaves me with a lot of food for thought. I always have been overweight, chubby, pleasantly plump, thick, heavy. But you have such a pretty face. Yep, that's me, and I'm not alone. According to a quick search, Wikipedia reports that obesity has continued to grow within the United States. 2 of every 3 American men are considered to be overweight or obese. but the rates for women are far higher. The United States contains one of the highest percentage of obese people in the world. When I was younger, I used food to comfort me. Happy or sad, it always was there for me. I celebrated with it. Congratulations, way to go. Want some cake? Or I was social with it. After all, who doesn't like a pizza party or backyard barbecue? Plus, food could always soothe my sadness. Nothing like chocolate to mend a broken heart. At 23, multiple sclerosis entered my life. I was young, scared, and sad. And for the first time, food could not fix my problem. MS had power far greater than that which was found at the bottom of a bowl of ice cream. I would be living with this monster forever. It was time to learn some new coping techniques. Yes, learn. That in itself would be my first strategy. Knowledge being power, I was on a mission to learn everything I could about the disease. I still am, and I encourage anyone newly diagnosed to do the same. From credible sources, of course, and keep learning. Another coping strategy I've used is to get involved with others who help you live with, adjust to, and accept this disease. Stay connected. Don't let MS isolate you. I'm thankful I got involved with the National MS Society. With this connection, I gained oodles of up-to-date, accurate information, empowered myself through advocacy, and made some amazing lifelong friendships. In fact, it is through an MS Society program that I met my incredible husband, Dan, nearly 16 years ago. Life is and has been good since meeting him on that fateful day back in 2002. Yes, we have faced our fair share of problems over the year. He also having MS, but together we're a pretty strong team. However, now, 21 years after my diagnosis, I legitimately cannot cope with food. Did I tell you I want to feed myself? I mean, I can for the most part, but my MS weakened arms make it a challenge to lift the utensil to my mouth. I often need Dan's help to finish my meal. My disease has impacted my arms. I'm weak and frustrated and angry, embarrassed too. But I'm not going to give up on myself or give in to this disease. I'm actively doing physical and occupational therapy, as well as exercising on my own to regain my strength and feed myself once again. I've been living with this disease for what amounts to more than 7,600 days. I'm tired, worn out. Heck, even the world's best athletes get a day off every now and again. And as Dan has told me a few times, legendary baseball Hall of Famer Cal Ripken retired after 21 seasons. But I'm likely in the middle of my MS career. I still have a long way to go in this fight. Still, I occasionally want to comfort myself with a piece of chocolate cake that I feed myself. I mean, really, is that too much to ask for? Wow.
Wow.
That was pretty cathartic to read something
I was gonna say
wrote.
when it was like out loud like that. I mean, and that's another thing. As you journal, when you get done, I mean, pick it up in a couple days, couple weeks, couple months after you write. I mean, I hadn't really read that out loud. I mean, and saying it out loud, hearing your own words. I mean, when I read that essay, yours, I could hear you say it, but to hear you reading it, it's even better than what I was imagining in my head.
It's pretty powerful just to hear you read your essay, and some other conversation that we have to have is just talk about how if what you wrote, like how do you feel about it now? And I think that's a great thing about journaling is you can look how far you've come since you wrote what you did. And just, the progression of multiple sclerosis and just life, how things have moved forward. I wrote this essay a few months ago, and I'm still doing physical therapy. And, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but every time I finish a meal myself, I kind of do. And I think that's the importance of journaling. It's just you realize what's really important. And it can be hard to journal. I have trouble with my right hand. And I'm fortunate that I have a smartphone that understands me pretty well when I speak to
It's
it.
like the voice recognition.
And voice recognition software. And I'm able to use the MS or the Health Storylines app. And I can journal right there on the app. And that's a great tool. So if you don't have pen to paper and you have a smartphone, look for some of the free apps like Health Storylines. Because it's important to get your emotions out and to release your stress. And I think journaling is great.
And so that's, wow. And however you do it, whether it's like what Jennifer said, just quoting from the talk, just like 3 positive things every day. I mean, just like things that keep you focused and thinking about things and
moving forward, releasing that stress and helping you with your emotions to deal with multiple sclerosis or any, being a caregiver for a person living with MS or chronic illness that you're facing. So I hope you got something out of our show today. This was pretty personal.
And I think that's yeah, wow. So I want to go journal some more now. I want to write, and I think just the journal, not feel like I have to write an essay for the world to read. This more just for me personal, and maybe turn those into essays. But thank you all for listening again to this, a couple takes on MS. Follow up with us on our website, danandjenniferdigman.com, or on Twitter @DanJenDig. Thanks again to Blue Draft Kid for composing the theme music for our show, and thanks to MS&Me Radio Network for having us along. Take care.